Hi, so I decided to do my essay over Sonnet 18 and another poem in the book called Delta by Adrienne Rich. But first I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born here in Houston, but I've always lived in Spring. Baseball is my favorite sport. I've traveled quite a bit. I've been to Alabama, Tennessee, North and South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But the most important one that I found, probably the best trip I've ever been on, was when I went to Paris, France. It was really cool to see the Eiffel Tower, and we actually got to go up it and whatnot. So yeah, my favorite animal is a zebra. I love anchors, and I'm currently studying to become an occupational therapist. And lastly, when I was 12 years old, my mom passed away from cancer. So I picked Sonnet 18 because, to me, I find my mom the most beautiful person in the world. And I've always looked up to her. You know, as a kid, I always wanted to be exactly like her, and I wanted to do things with her and just do everything the way she did. And the line where it talks about the rough winds do shake and summer's lease hath all too short a date. To me, that line meant that my mom's life was cut short, and her being sick and her passing away really affected my life. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. When I read that line, to me it meant that even though this experience has happened, I will not be brought down by it or stop living my life just because her life ended before I was prepared. But when I kept going, I understood that the nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. When I read that line, to me it meant that if death was a person, I won't let him brag about him taking her away from me. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. That pretty much hit home to me a lot, because when I read that, I got the impression that for me, as long as I'm still alive, there'll always be a part of her that is also still here on earth too. Just because she has a part of her in me, and I will have her life shine through me by the things that I do and by the things that I overcome and all those things. So this poem pretty much hit home to me because I could relate each of the lines to her in some way. For the next poem, to me, this poem meant that life is about making choices, and if you make a mistake, you just kind of have to learn from them and find ways to make them benefit your life. This poem made me think of how when my mom was sick, I really regret not spending as much time with her as I probably should have. Because at that age, I was not really wanting to be around her just because she was always asleep, or she was always in pain, or she was always, sick. And so I kind of stayed away from her a lot of the time. But even though I regret the lack of time I spent with her, I decided to not let it define me or cause me to be, sad or anything like that, because I know she understood what I was going through at the time. She understood at the age I was, it's normal to act that way, I guess. And I knew that she knew that I loved her, and I know that she loved me. But I've used this experience with my mom to now cherish every moment I have with all the loved ones in my life, and I choose to cherish the time that I do get, because life is short and we don't ever know when our last day will be, or when our breath of air will be the very last breath of air. So this poem pretty much hit home, because that's the first thought that came to mind when I saw it, was how I regret it, but I've learned from it. I've chosen to make good come out of the mistakes or the regrets I've made. So both of these poems really hit home, and I know they both related to the same thing, but I really liked reading these because it made me think of my mom, and I believe they've kind of helped me heal in a certain way. So yeah, and here's my works cited slide, and that's the end of the slideshow. I hope I did this right. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond. So thank you again for allowing me to do this. I will do my best to email this, and I will see you in class on Wednesday. Thank you.